sort of principles being, I mean, this is this idea of like, let's get our feedback independently, is that groups stink. We think groups are great for debiasing because we think, oh, we're getting other people's opinions. But mostly if you talk in groups, you're just making bias worse. So they're horrible. There are all sorts of, like we talked before about, the anchoring and things that come out of that, right? So it's just like, get to the outside view. I mean, that's the thing that you need to do. You need to hear what other people have to say, even if it's a past version of you or you on different days of the week, right? Like we have to get out of the perspective of the moment. As Kahneman said to me, and I think it's such a great statement, find someone who loves you but doesn't care about your feelings. What does that mean? Find someone who really wants you to have a good outcome, but isn't worried that you're going to be sad because they told you, I see it a different way, or I don't think it was $139. And I'm willing to tell you so.
You as the recipient have to be willing to hear that, though.
Well, of course. That's why he's saying find someone who will do that for you.
Well, and yourself, you have to listen to that someone.
You have to be, yeah.
Now I do have a trick that's separate from, now obviously if you can find someone who do that, that's great. But I have a trick for people who don't want to hear it from you and you actually would like them to still be your friends. Is one of the things that I'll do is with people is I'll just sort of shift it to the future. So the thing that people are defensive about are things that they've done in the past, particularly when they've acted on certain beliefs or whatever. So when somebody's sitting, like I have a funny example in How to Decide where someone's talking about like, oh, the last 10 people I went on a date with are such jerks, right? And of course, every single person who's ever been in that conversation is like, maybe you pick really badly, or perhaps you're a jerk. I like, really, you hit 10 in a row who were jerks? Like, first of all, maybe you think that things are jerky that aren't. Maybe you're too sensitive. Maybe you're whatever. Like we all have that. Nobody actually thinks.
The point is, it's you. It's not them. Right.
Right. But what do we all do? Oh man. Right. Because they're like your friend.
Yeah.
So, okay. So the trick is now Kahneman's friend would say, are you kidding me? They're not, let's be honest here, Danny. They weren't 10 jerks in a row. Right. Okay. But that's when you've invited that in. But what happens when you haven't? You just say, that's horrible. I'm so sad that you dated all those jerks. So like when you go out on your next date and you're going to pick somebody to go on a date with, what do you think you could do that would make it less likely that they'll be a jerk? Now notice that in order for them to actually properly answer that question, they have to go back and think about, well, what was my behavior on the date? How did I pick? Was I just like swiping right on Tinder? Is it right or left? I don't know. Whichever way you swipe on Tinder.
Not touching that one.
Stop virtue signaling, honestly.
No, I've actually never used it, which is not virtue. The fact that I haven't used Tinder is actually just tells people how old I am, sadly. It's not I'm sure if I were a young
I'm just
being,
kidding,
I would
Annie,
totally
for God's
be
sake.
using Tinder. But luckily I am married and don't need it. But anyway, so whichever way you swipe, that's like the good swiping thing or whatever. If it's like, oh, I was just swiping right on people who were showing pictures of themselves in the gym, right? Maybe I shouldn't do that anymore. Nothing against people who spend all their time in gyms, by the way, and put pictures of Tinder of them doing gym things. I'm sure you're lovely. While
listening to you too. I mean, honestly.
Listening to you too.
Blasting stadium rock.
Right, blasting stadium rock, exactly.